Welcome, everyone, to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. This is Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London.
Hey, Chris. Hello.
Oh, greetings! Happy September, happy autumn, happy fall, as you say in the colonies.
Yes, happy fall.
Yes.
The leaves are turning and it's back to school in the States, so it's perfect Doctor Who weather.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of traditionally when Doctor Who starts, isn't it? Sort of like going way, way back to like the classic era. I was going to say it's good weather to be talking about Doctor Who. Any weather is good weather to be talking about Doctor Who. I was just going to thinking, as we were saying before the show, that might be an idea just to kind of doff our proverbial cap to mark the passing of Victor Pemberton. You know, his death was announced sort of since the last show. I mean, whilst he didn't write many stories, I mean, he was the script editor on a TV show, and he wrote the first original Doctor Who audio story, of course, Doctor Who and the Pescatons, and wrote the novelisation of that and Fury from the Deep. And whilst I've not read the Pescatons, I mean, I do remember greatly enjoying Fury from the Deep, and just because it was quite a different story and from the typical fare, and in some ways you could say maybe pave a way for Unit if you squint a bit, possibly.
I haven't read Fury from the Deep, but I've listened to the audio, and then, of course, have listened to the audio of the Pescatons, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he created the sonic screwdriver, didn't he?
He did. Yes, yeah. And he also wrote the brilliant scene in Tomb of Cybermen that was used in various parts of the internet to mark the passing of Deborah Watling, which is the scene in which the second Doctor and sort of Victoria kind of talk about their families and how they can always sort of see them when they close their eyes and their memories, and it's just gorgeous.
And they sleep in their mind.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a wonderful scene.
Yes.
So yes. So just raise the proverbial mug to him and Deborah Watling and also Trevor Baxendale. It's been a rough old month.
Yeah, it has.
Yes.
So
anyway, sorry, that's a downer start, but yes. Well, it'll be all nice and cheerful from now on in, because there's no stories we're going to be discussing this month that are at all grim or despondent.
There's a few of those sprinkled in. Yeah. Shades of St. Anthony's Fire in there.
Yes, maybe. Right.
Yeah, I have something a little bit more cheerful for Show and Tell this month.
Yay!
So I'm going to talk about the Riff Tracks live event for the Five Doctors. And this was a US only event, so I don't think it came to Canada or England. I ended up attending both the live show on August 17th and then the encore on August 24th. And I wanted to go to both of them just because there wasn't any guarantee that these would come out on video. Some of their live events do and some don't. It depends if they can secure the home video rights or not.
I guess the BBC probably are a bit precious on that sort of thing.
Yeah, so it seems rather unlikely. They've also riffed the two Peter Cushing Dalek films, but I noticed that they had taken those down from their site for sale. So I don't know if they had perhaps lost the rights to those, but if you had previously purchased them, you can still access the files in the archive for the time being. So I downloaded a spare backup copy just in case. So these are the Riff Tracks kind of comedy team, which is from the kind of the second art incarnation of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Mike was the host seasons 5 through 10. Because they're a local group, I see quite a few of them out and about at conventions, comedy shows, and like at special movie screenings and stuff. And going back, I even remember some of the UHF KTMA bits that aired locally before MST3K became like a national thing. At the event, I recognized some fans both from Convergence and from Console Room, but I didn't really see any cosplay apart from the odd Doctor Who or Mystery Science Theater 3000 t-shirt. I will say that I never thought I'd see the Five Doctors on the big screen, so that was really cool. When William Hartnell first came on screen at the beginning there for the kind of prologue from Dalek Invasion of Earth, kind of got chills seeing that, so that was really cool. It was fun. It was very much kind of a layperson's take on the show. So it's not
Okay.
yeah, it's not the same sort of riffs with obscure references that you'd find at conventions. Like I know there's the Mystery 337 comedy group that riffs Doctor Who episodes in the States at different conventions, which is fine because they were going for a wider audience and kind of casual fans. I will say Sylvester McCoy cannot catch a break. There was a there's a slide during the pre-show that said something to the effect of Peter Cushing will never be canonical, but Sylvester McCoy unfortunately always will be.
Aww.
Yeah. So that reminded me a little bit of the Doctor Who Night sketch that David Williams and Mark Gatiss did, and they later edited out some of those types of comments from that. Another slide before the show was like an anagram puzzle, and half the audience was shouting Doctor Who and the other half was Torchwood. So that was kind of funny to see. And before the event, they aired a short film. It looked like it was from the early 80s or late 70s, a British short called Play Safe. And it was made by an Electric Power Council or something. And it had like an animated bird and an owl and a bunch of kids dying in unusual ways.
Right?
Including flying kites into electrical lines, moving a sailboat under power lines, breaking into a substation to retrieve a frisbee, all sorts of things like that. So that was kind of funny. They used the special edition from the early 90s.
Ooh.
So they were commenting on how they thought those effects weren't fully rendered. One of the riffs, so I'd hate to hear what they thought of the original effects.
Yes.
And maybe the deepest cut in terms of like a reference was they referenced the show getting canceled a year later, referring to the hiatus.
Yeah.
They knew enough to know that Richard Herndale wasn't William Hartnell.
Okay.
Some of their other riffs, like when the Doctor first stepped out onto the Eye of Orion, the riff was, it's so nice being out here on film. And they commented on the Death Zone. It was nice that they maintained paved roads for Bessie.
Yes.
And things like referring to Turlo as Ron Weasley, Tegan as Pat Benatar. There was one reference to Tegan and Sarah when they met.
Yeah.
Playing Lilith Fair.
Yeah.
They made a lot of fun about like Sarah's tumble down the hill, the Raston Warrior robot, Baruza collecting action figures, Sarah Jane on her way to PurpleCon, stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun.
Cool.
And hopefully they did confirm on Twitter that they're planning on releasing a Just the Jokes MP3 that will sync to the DVD, and that the Play Safe short was going to be released separately. So at least people get to see most of it, I think.
So was Play Safe a genuine thing? There was a campaign in Melbourne in Australia for about kind of just general safety called Dumb Ways to Die, which was a charming animation of sort of depicting deaths. Some sound very like what you just described. The 21st century spirit of that lives on. Yeah, so that was a genuine thing from the 70s.
Yeah, late 70s, early 80s, I would say. And it was mostly live action. The only animated parts were the owl and the bird kind of commenting on everyone's demise.
Well, that happens all the time in Britain.
Yeah, so that was the Riff Tracks event. It was a lot of fun. It would be great if they did more in the future. It seems like it was pretty well attended, so
yeah,
fingers crossed. But even if it was just a one-off event, it was fun.
I wonder what you would do from the classic era. Maybe Vengeance on Varos. I don't know, but there's a few interesting ones that they could go for.
Yeah.
It's just obviously the Five Doctors is nice because there's so many because it's the greatest hits compilation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so don't tell them about the Children in Need thing from 93.
Oh yeah.
I guess the McGann TV movie that would probably be the next.
Yeah, that would.
It also feels eminently riff trackable.
Yeah. That'd be a great one.
And it would let them show their love of Sylvester. 15 to 20 minutes. Yes. Anyway.
Yeah, so what do you have for show and tell?
So my show and tell is it's a story rather than necessarily a thing. So on Tuesday I was boarding the Jubilee line in London's glittering underground. it was kind of rush hour, and there was, as usual, kind of like lots of sort of sweaty armpits and stuff. And then I realised that 3 people across from me was a gentleman reading Illegal Alien. And just brazenly reading Doctor Who on his journey home. And I kind of thought, okay, how do I can I get to you in a way that's not at all weird or creepy? Because Londoners don't really speak to strangers on the tube. I kind of did a little, because I only had about 5 stops, and so I did a little bit of strategic manoeuvring and utterly failed to speak to him because I suddenly, and I thought, do I just say something as, do I just lean in, say hello, listen to our podcast, and then sort of leave him in a bewildered state as I drop off to at the next stop.
So if you were a Londoner
Yes.
reading Illegal Aliens and you saw
Yes,
someone appear to approach you and then back away.
and then back away, yeah. So if you were kind of going from London Bridge heading east on sort of Tuesday the 22nd, about 5:30, and you were in a lime green shirt, hi, hello. Sorry, I'll try not to be weird. So if ever you see anybody reading Doctor Who, sort of feel free to sort of go over and say hello. I think that's probably what people should do. Yeah.
That's great.
Yes. Yeah. It was very exciting. I've not seen somebody reading kind of BBC books in quite some time. It took me a little while to kind of figure out what it was, because all I could just see was the back, so I could see the image of Sylvester McCoy, and I was sort of far enough away that I couldn't quite read the blurb, and then I just sort of saw some sort of poking over the shoulder of a couple of people. I saw some references to Cybermen. That must be Illegal Alien.
Very cool.
Yeah.
One time I saw someone reading a Doctor Who book in public, and it's a rare occurrence in stateside, but it was Kathy Sullivan, who has written for Big Finish, and she's an author in her own right. And I didn't know who she was at the time, but this was after the Eighth Doctor books had started coming out, but there hadn't been a U.S. distributor for them yet. So it had been like maybe a year or two where I was aware that these books were coming out from the BBC now instead of Virgin, but had no way to really get them without importing them. And this was, very early days of the internet and so forth. So I struck up conversation with her, and she was waiting in queue at a Star Trek convention, which is kind of funny. And it turns out she introduced herself as Kathy, and then I realized, this was the same Kathy Sullivan that had been sending me tapes for the last year or two as part of the old tape tree network for all the reconstructions that were going on. So kind of a weird thing where we met in line and realized, hey, you've been supplying my Doctor Who fix for the past few years on VHS.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah, it is. But also, I think sort of striking a conversation to do with a Doctor Who book at a Star Trek convention is probably sort of less likely to cause upset than sort of like, a packed tube carriage.
Yeah, it was a fairly safe place to approach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So our book for this month isn't really a book, but it's 16 short stories collected together as short trips. The original, you might say.
Yes.
From BBC Books. So this was preceded by 5 decalogues, which were collections of 10 stories each from Virgin Publishing, and then BBC Books decided to give it a try and put out 3 volumes of their own anthology, and then Big Finish picked up the moniker after that, and they've released quite a few volumes, both on audio and in print. So lots of anthologies, but this is the first one we've reviewed.
Yes.
You should mention too that there will be some shorter dramatic readings sprinkled in, probably more than one, but in the interest of time, we're not going to be setting them up. A lot of this will kind of come together in the edit, I think, and half of the stories were never dramatized or spoken either.
Or spoken of ever again.
Yeah. Until now.
Yes, certainly. Because, spoilers, there's at least one stinker in this, in my personal opinion.
Just the one. No, we'll talk about each of the stories and then kind of give our review of the collection at the end. I wanted to mention too that the audios for this originally came out on cassette, and they were spread over 3 different releases with 5 different narrators. And those have been collected and are available on iTunes in the Tales from the TARDIS collection, which collects Short Trips, Earth and Beyond, and Out of the Darkness, which is the titles you can find the audios on. All right, so the format for this month, we're going to have kind of a lightning round style, 5 minutes per book, and I've got a timer here. So we'll see if this works, and then when the timer ends, you'll hear the sound of the TARDIS starting to take off. So we'll try and wrap up each recap by then. So we're going to try and spend maybe like a minute or so on the author and the setting, a couple minutes on the recap, and then a couple minutes on our reactions too.
Yeah, and we're helped by the fact that some authors reoccur. So we only need to speak of them once. We also have 2 pseudonym authors.
Yes, I noticed that. I was wondering.
Yeah, so we'll touch upon their real stuff rather than the fictitious descriptions of them at the back of the book.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. And if you notice too, the 2 names are, I believe, an anagram of Master or Mr. Master. There's if you look at the author names, there's some. I haven't quite sussed it out, but I think you can get Master out of both of them. So
I think that the other pseudonym, which is Evan Pritchard, is a nod of the hat to Ambrose Evans Pritchard, who was an author.
Oh, I thought Evan Pritchard was a real person.
No, Evan Pritchard's a pseudonym. Another pseudonym. Because you've got Tara Sams.
Right, who is really Stephen Cole.
Who was the editor of The Range. Yeah.
And then Sam Lester, I thought, was the other.
I Googled Sam Lester, and I'm not aware of that person being a pseudonym.
Really?
Evan Pritchard is, though.
Huh.
Evan Pritchard is Rebecca Levine, who was the editor of The New Adventures towards the end.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that. I had thought the 2 were. I knew Tara Sams for sure, but I thought Sam Lester was also a pseudonym for Stephen Cole because
it's so close to Master, isn't it?
Yeah, it's similar to Master, and then the author blurb for Sam Lester was, Sam Lester feels his life so far is infinitely boring and surely of no interest to anyone, but with his high moral fiber now almost entirely rotted away, he has high hopes for the future. So with a blurb like that, I thought for sure.
I think Sam Lester could well be a pseudonym, just one that's not been outed.
Yeah. So perhaps we have 3.
Yes. So we know of at least 2. And some people possibly should have had. Okay, right. So
let's begin.
Enough foreshadowing. Let's begin.
All right. So I'll go ahead and hit start. And our first story is Model Train Set by Jonathan Bloom.
So Jonathan Bloom was one half of the great writing team of Bloom and Orman. And as it said at the back, rather unkindly potentially, that he was married to Kate Orman as of January 98. I think that's because the book hadn't been published by that point, rather than reflecting any doubt as to how long that relationship was going to last. It did take me a little while to go, oh, okay.
And he had written one of the early Big Finishes, and he first came to my attention from a fan video he did called Time Rift, where he played the 7th Doctor, and his accent is very memorable, shall we say.
And it's how he met Kate Orman. Because Kate Orman heard that video being played and kind of came in because she felt that Sylvester McCoy was I've not seen the video. Going from what you've said, it sounds as if his accent is not particularly spot on.
It was an ambitious production. had some cool parts, but so the summary of this one, the Doctor is playing with a model train set that he had set up in his one of his previous incarnations.
He'd always loved trains for as long as he could remember. Even as a little boy, he'd dreamed of driving one. Sometimes he'd looked at the dream in a different way. At one point in his life, he would much rather have been the station master, quietly tending his plot and keeping his corner of the larger system in order. while at other times he would gladly have just been the man who rescued damsels from the bits of railway line to which men with curled moustaches kept tying them with alarming regularity. He suspected that one of his more recent incarnations would rather have been one of the steam engines, all bright paint and gaudy brass, puffing and chuffing about with great noise and clatter. But most recently, he had tended towards being the man in the nerve centre, routing and switching the trains on all their myriad ways, each one playing a part in the larger tapestry of schedules and goals. This was the Doctor who had built the model train layout, who had machined each engine and laid each piece of track, who took a craftsman's pride in knowing every quirk and foible of the system he had engineered. He set each train on its way and happily juggled the dozens of minute details needed to keep them from interfering with each other. His pleasure came in the sight of a crisis overcome, or even better, a potential crisis avoided. He was the man who developed a childlike grin at the sight of the whole bustling network running smoothly. Finally, he'd come up with a plan in which everything worked. No matter what else you could say about him, he made the trains run on time. But now the new Doctor looked at the model train set with a vaguely dissatisfied frown. It was all very well having a system which responded precisely to what you told it to do, but where was the surprise in that?
And it has complete with miniature people, which I kind of imagined as like little Lego minifigs. And it's a miracle of craftsmanship, but he wanted to introduce less perfection and create a system that didn't need his constant attention and supervision.
And these people are moving around as well.
Yep.
One of them, the train driver, wears a cricket pullover, and he waves at him, which I thought was rather nice.
And so the Doctor introduces more and more sentience into this setup, and he goes off on an adventure, and when he comes back, he finds the entire model train set kind of in disarray and carnage everywhere and crashes, and he gets rather despondent and depressed about what happened and thinks they need a strong hand to watch over them, and there's a lot of kind of heavy-handed allusions to Earth. But he noticed that there's a few of the workers were still trying to fix things and make things better, so he helps them out and by righting the larger trains that had toppled over, and lets them kind of go about fixing things themselves, hoping that they'll learn something, in the process.
Yeah, it's a lovely little character piece. I can see why. I mean, people still kind of rave about it to this day, because it does seem to kind of capture the spirit of the Eighth Doctor very well. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's not got there's no plot, but it's a lovely sort of way of comparing what was still a relatively new Doctor to the seventh, and sort of just highlighting to the audience how different this new Doctor is, and that he's less manipulative.
Did you catch the reference to Ben Aronovich's book? There's a reference to transit in there.
No. Oh, I don't spot that.
Talking about the complexity of the system, he talks about it being the transit system. And I've heard, too, that the train set is later mentioned in a couple of other books, including Vampire Science, which was John and Kate.
Yeah. That was probably written at roughly the same time, if not earlier. Yeah. No, it's a nice little story to kind of to ease you into the collection.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was one of the more memorable ones of the set for sure.
Yes, memorable in a good way.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, 18 seconds to spare.
Yay! Okay. So, should we move on to Old Flames, which is by Paul Mars, who was kind of entering the BBC range or Doctor Who range at this time, and it is the first appearance of Iris Wildthyme, who is a character that he'd written books for outside of Doctor Who before this. She is basically a kind of she's a time lady, not necessarily a rogue one, but just Although just meanders around, a bit of like a meddling monk type figure. I think possibly might be a way to look at it. Maybe slightly less evil.
Yeah, and she was played by Katie Manning in some of the Big Finish audios and stuff too.
Yes. Yeah.
So this one, the Doctor, is it on Earth?
Jane Austen novel, basically.
Yeah.
It's Earth. Yeah. It's basically they land in Jane Austen.
And the Doctor falls, it's wintertime, and the Doctor falls through the ice in a river or a pond, and he catches a bit of a cold. And the Doctor and Sarah stay with a priest in a rectory. And they get invited to a ball that's being held and decide to go to that with the priest.
And think of it, a genuine 18th century high society ball, he mused. I'd rather we just went on our way. I'm not... What's that? Sarah groaned. Not your big cats again? He looked surprised. It's an engine. They both looked at the source of the noise and saw, emerging through the black, naked trees, the lumbering, scarlet shape of a double-decker bus. They watched it labour out of sight like a rare and fabulous beast slipping back into the forest's obscurity. "Ah, well," said the Doctor at length, "you'd be surprised how many things aren't where they're supposed to be in time. Listen," he said, "perhaps we ought to go to this ball and hobnob with the locals. You looked like you could do with a good night out." He blinked again. There was no denying it. It was definitely her. Across the ballroom, through the rustle and press of all those dresses, the Doctor could see her quite clearly stretched out on a sofa and observing the proceedings with a benign expression of amusement. Her large, inelegant body was tucked primly into a fashionable pale olive frock. The Doctor shuffled and slid across the highly polished floor until he stood before her. "Iris? Doctor," she smiled, glancing up. She held out one brilliantly white-gloved hand for him to kiss. "I'd heard you were in the vicinity." "Well, I wish I'd known you were here," he said rudely. "Oh, don't be all cross with me." She giggled and fluffed up the ostrich feathers sprouting from her tiara. "Don't I look the part? In this time and place, I'm known as Lady Iris Wildthyme. Isn't that marvellous? In the 18th century I'm rather grand and own a beautiful home in the north." The Doctor rolled his eyes. "You're determined to have a house in every century on this planet, aren't you? Oh, you know me. I never like to settle in one place." Suddenly the Doctor gave one of his disarming grins. "It's good to see you again, Iris," he said, grasping her podgy hand and giving it a brisk shake. He had forgotten, upon first seeing Iris here, that he actually enjoyed her company. Their paths had crossed on only a few occasions in the past, and when they did, it was never dull.
The ball's being held by a woman, and it's either her daughter or her granddaughter.
Her granddaughter, yes, yeah. So it's being held by a Lady Huntingdon, and she's sort of basically, whoever's going to marry her granddaughter will inherit the estate. We go off to a ball, and Sarah and Doctor are there, and the ball is being hosted by this Lady Huntingdon, who is sort of looking for a sort of a husband for her granddaughter, and whoever will marry her will inherit her estate. And also at the ball, Sarah encounters a young captain who's kind of fallen out of time in some capacity or other, and the Doctor stumbles across Iris. And he's also sort of seen a double-decker bus in the woods, and is obviously expecting Iris to appear. And you get this sort of full-on sort of Jane Austen-y dancing in the ball, and we're not going to do justice to this, but I think if you enjoy, not necessarily, it's not done in the narrative, in the writing style of Jane Austen, but it sort of feels like a written sort of version of a TV adaptation of Jane Austen at some points. It's quite charming.
Yeah, it really is. And Iris is attending the ball to really kind of do a land grab because she wants a house in this time frame. And it turns out the granddaughter and the grandmother are both were-tigers. So the priest gets mauled to death on his way home. The grandmother is stopped, and the granddaughter ends up marrying Iris's companion, whom she leaves behind. But I looked ahead, and it turns out Iris picks him up again later on, and they have a whole bunch of audio adventures in Big Finish. So Captain Turner is remembered.
Oh,
and,
I was just going to say, I love the fact that Iris's TARDIS is the same size on the inside
as the outside. Yeah.
Yes. It's just a double-decker bus.
It's dimensionally scendental.
Yes, yeah, and also it's a bus to Putney, and I think it's a line that I would have caught quite a few times. I used to live in the bit of London that the bus is supposedly heading to. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. I liked this one.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, this is only the second bit of writing by Paul Mars that I've read. First was The Scarlet Empress that I read many years ago, and I just did not get on with it at all. I just found it very self-indulgent. This is just gorgeous, and I can understand now. I get it. I see why people love Iris. I see why people love his writing. It's just brilliant.
The TARDIS just went off. I don't know if you heard it or not, but
no, I did not. Okay.
I would just say this was also my second Paul Mars thing that I read. I also read his Diary of a Doctor Who Addict, which was a lovely little semi-autobiographical work that he did. All right. Our next story is War Crimes by
Simon Butcher Jones.
Yeah. And this takes place during the War Games.
Apparently during episode 10 of the War Game.
In the War Games, in addition to humans being lifted from their timelines, there were other creatures lifted from other planets, including kind of a big bear creature.
Yeah.
Species is notable because they can change their gender at least one point in their lives. This was an interesting, really short story.
Yeah.
It ended kind of strangely with the Doctor. So one of these not a were creature, but one of these bear kind of augmented creatures. You follow it throughout the narrative, and it's kind of fighting its own internal programming that was by the warlords. The creature ends up committing suicide, and as the Doctor's pulling it from the sea and watching it die, there's this kind of sharp line that it ends on with saying the Doctor recognized the expression on the creature's face as being the same one that was present on Jamie and Zoe's faces when their minds were wiped. So it's kind of a in-your-face sort of.
I thought it was quite interesting about the kind of the changing gender, and also as well, sort of this creature's tribe thinks that he's dead, and they heard this weird noise. It's obviously a TARDIS or a Sidrat actually taking the creature away the first time and then putting it back. Yeah, so basically we have a Doctor Who story in which the Doctor doesn't appear or any of the TARDIS crew until like the final page, or sort of final but 2 pages as well. It's just this one didn't really work for me.
Not me either. It was an interest. The one thing I did like about it is it did kind of give gravitas to the Doctor's companions' minds being wiped, which up until Donna in the new series, you didn't really have a whole lot of people saying like, oh, Jamie and Zoe's fate was worse than death sort of thing, but this gives you a hint of how awful it would be to have your memories of your time with the Doctor wiped. I guess it's the one thing I took away from it.
Yeah, we're scratching around for time. Simon Butcher Jones, it says in the back that that he and his wife both changed their names and amalgamated them into a double-barreled surname, which is lovely. That's nice. Yeah, and this is the only piece of his that I've read, and it doesn't leave me really keen to read any others. But I did enjoy the bits because you had some kind of like bureaucracy kind of stuff from the Time Lords with their kind of filing their reports. That was kind of interesting-ish. This is not one of my favourites.
Yeah, me either. All right, so we'll continue on to.
Evan Pritchard's work.
Yes, The Last Days.
Yes, okay.
Written by Rebecca Levine, as you said.
Yeah, yes, as you've just learned, yes.
Which I've just learned. And so this one is kind of strange in that it takes place in at the Masada Fortress in Israel, which is a real place. However, some of the events that are purported to have taken place there, including a mass suicide of like 950 people, there isn't a whole lot, if any, historical evidence for that, apart from the writings of Josephus, which in some cases have been known to be forgeries or embellishments. So this is an interesting one in that it takes place in a real location, but the events depicted in the story probably didn't take place,
or not necessarily quite in the same way, or
as they're depicted. Yeah.
Also, I think it's probably safe to say that any modern version of Doctor Who would avoid setting something in this kind of scenario, I suspect.
Yeah, it'd be the equivalent of like the Doctor finding himself like in one of the buildings on 9/11 or something. It just I don't think they would tell that story.
No. Because because I remember people sort of saying that they're very excited about the Seventh Doctor because this is a Doctor that you could kind of say put into sort of scenes in Nazi Germany and sort of like into the kind of things like the concentration camps and stuff, and you're like, yeah, okay, I suppose, but why would you want to do that in the context of Doctor Who? Sorry, I don't understand. But anyway, right, sorry, we're getting distracted. So
this is the first Doctor, Ian, Barbara, and Susan. And
yes.
Ian and Barbara are on one side of the conflict within the fortress, and the Doctor and Susan are with the Romans on the outside.
Yeah, and Ian and Barbara's side are very kind of... The people there are determined to kind of like make this sort of last stand count, and they don't want the Romans basically to capture any of them. And so they decide that they are all going to kill themselves. And you see kind of children, you see various families, sort of in the people in the fort in Masada. It does not pull its punches because from sort of pretty much the get-go that there are likely to be only 2 survivors that were recorded in history, and both of them were women. So you're like, well, Barbara could be one of them. Ian, not likely to be the other. And so you kind of have some tension injected because you're kind of like, well, surely there has to be a way, which because this is how they go. But
Ian fakes killing Barbara by slicing his own arm open and bleeding over her, and then Ian ends up having to kill the last 11 or so people alive, and they draw lots to do it. It's very dark, and the Doctor is able to rescue them because he labels them as spies that were working for him, and convinces the Roman general to spare their lives reluctantly after he finds 2 other survivors, which are the 2 women, and they kind of go on their way, and it's just a dark little episode.
And Barbara, there's a few kind of callbacks to the Aztecs, and because Barbara says to Ian that, look, you can't change history, and Ian says, look, I don't know this is history.
Yeah. And a continuity error with a reference to the Romans, which is with Vicky. Hasn't happened with Barbara yet, so.
Yeah. Well, maybe there was another Roman adventure.
There could have been,
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this one. I mean, I don't know if necessarily enjoy is the word, but I thought it was very well told, which is why I looked up Evan Pritchard, because I wanted to find out stuff.
And there's the TARDIS.
There's the TARDIS, yes. And the only other stuff that Rebecca Levine's I've read was one of her Benny New Adventure novels that just basically felt like a synopsis and not so much of a novel. It was a wonderful surprise to discover that it was her. This is a good story.
I think it's very well written. It's just the setting and the content was what was troubling for me, and how it's written, it's wonderful. And we should say the only story by a female contributor out of the 16 that we're gonna be talking about
that we're aware of.
Yeah. Good point.
Next up is by two folks. Stop the Pigeon by Illegal Aliens, Mike Tucker and Robert Perry.
And Mike Tucker was a effects supervisor, did practical effects on the original series show and model work, and was brought in to do. He created the model of Big Ben in the first season of Eccleston, or the only season of Eccleston that the Slitheen crashed into. So Mike Tucker goes way back with the show.
They write quite a lot of BBC Seventh Doctor novels as well.
Yep. And Mike Tucker also wrote the book about Ace with Sophie Eldred. He was her co-author on that one. So Stop the Pigeon. This is a story. It takes place in Croydon.
Yes, in and around Croydon. And which is quite close to the bit of South London that I'm speaking to you from, dear listener. And also starts off with a reference as to how terrible it is commuting on the railway. And whilst the company that provides the train services in this area may have changed, the experience hasn't got much better. So you have a swell train carriage breaking down in August. Yeah, I know how that feels.
There's a lot going on in this story.
Oh God. Yeah, we are going to have to be brutal.
Yeah, we're going to have to just kind of explain it more straightforward than we might otherwise. So this one involves the Master and the Crinoids. And the Master, it takes place just after survival from his perspective, and involves an elaborate scheme where the Master has set up a time anchor 80 years in the future from 87 or 80 years. Yeah. So 2067, there's a time anchor on that end, and the Master is convincing people to go into his facility as in old age, as like an elderly care facility. And then he, kind of in a Weeping Angels style sort of thing, goes back in time, kidnaps them as babies, brings them forward, siphons off the life energy from the elderly people, which he uses to stave off his cheetah virus infection, and then give the babies back to the families of the elderly people who come in, so they have the same DNA, but he's essentially creating paradoxes.
Yes.
And while all that's happening, there's a
pigeon. There's a talking pigeon wandering her.
Which is Vergoan space probe.
Yes.
Which has been infected by the Crinoids.
It's in three forms as well, because you have the ship, you have the pilot, and it's almost kind of got like a Holy Trinity thing going on.
It reminded me a little bit of the probe from Fear Her.
Oh, okay, right.
The little probe in that, just the kind of the suburban setting and that kind of called back.
The pigeon reminds me a lot of Frobisher, the Sixth Doctor's companion from the comics. A lot. So, yeah, basically, if you enjoyed Frobisher, then you quite enjoyed this sort of wisecracking pigeon.
The Doctor sat cross-legged in the attic of Joe's flat, tinkering with a small, intricate piece of equipment on the floor in front of him, and occasionally shooting a venomous glance at the pigeon. Vergoans, a race of shape-shifting, biomechanical symbiotes with an obsession for temporal tidiness. The Vergoans were excellent at discovering temporal anomalies and always tried to fix them, badly, but with unbounded enthusiasm. The Doctor sighed. The temporal equivalent of cowboy builders. The pigeon had followed him back to the flat, where he had made himself a cup of tea and demanded an explanation.
We're a survey team. We detected an anomaly here on Earth and came to investigate.
We?
We. I. Don't forget, I'm a Vergoan. Ship, pilot, probe. There are 3 of me. Or us. It can get confusing at times.
I know the problem, said the Doctor. There are 13 of me. You're the probe, I take it.
Yes.
And you decided that assuming the form of a talking pigeon would be nicely inconspicuous.
I was one of those little wasp things to begin with, but people kept trying to swipe me with newspapers. This is much better.
They had eventually found dozens of small-scale anomalies here, the pigeon explained. Not much on the temporal scheme of things, just a few individuals displaced by 80 years or so. Joe had been the first of the anomalies to be fixed.
Is this Gubbins?
The pigeon nodded at the instrument at the doctor's feet.
Time anchor. Holds the subject in a state of temporal stability. Fixes him in one time period. The tachyon
I
field...
know how a time anchor works, thank you. The doctor's voice was icy, but I can't seem to activate this one.
Course not. I'm jamming it.
Well, kindly unjam it.
No.
The doctor closed his eyes and took a deep breath.
The doctor unravels the plan and fixes everything, but not after a whole lot of stuff happens, and we've got like
cheetah fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mask becomes full-on cheetah, and also there's this giant cop-out of an ending as well. So because the kind of the probe, the Vagoan probe, has kind of turned green, and they're all saying, "Oh, it's been taken over by the Krynoid," but no, it's just shape changing to kind of make people think it's been taken over by the Krynoid. You go, what? It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's kind of a Deus Ex Machina ending.
Yeah.
With the Krynoid, or the non-Krynoid infected probe coming in to save everything.
Yes.
This one was okay, I thought. There were some cool ideas in it, but it just seemed like there was a lot going on for a short story.
Yeah. I mean, it felt like maybe like a modern TV story, and I can hear the TARDIS in the background. One thing I would say as well, because looked on TARDIS Wiki and its category of stories set in Croydon, which also features a 10th Doctor comic featuring a Krynoid in a Croydon garden centre. I don't know what it is about kind of Krynoids and Croydon. Croydon doesn't have a great rep, but it's not sort of nationally, but it shouldn't be beset upon by sort of giant vegetation.
Maybe it's the alliteration in the name.
Yeah, I guess
Croydon and Krynoid.
Yes.
So our next story is Freedom by Steve Lyons.
Yes, of Conundrum and various other things.
Yeah, I've read 3 or 4 of his books, and I've generally really enjoyed his work. So this is a story involving the Third Doctor, the Brigadier, and Joe Grant.
Yes, and also the Master. Yay! For a change.
So we get 2 were-tigers back-to-back with the cheetah people, and now we get 2 master stories back-to-back.
Yeah, because there is supposed to be a theme of freedom throughout this book. I mean, this story is called Freedom. I mean, yeah, I'm not too sure how frequently freedom actually appears as a theme. So Doctor and Joe head off to a kind of prison break because the Master has managed to hypnotise local people to break him out of Stangmore Prison. This is a story as well that it's done in kind of 2 threads. You've got Doctor and Joe stuck in some kind of prison that they cannot get out of, and it's just them in this kind of basically little bottle universe type. And you've also got the events leading up to it. Yeah, and the Doctor is also starting to see kind of images of his alternative selves. Sort of the second Doctor and the 5th Doctor kind of warning him about something, because he's discovered that all of the people that were trying to break into the prison work for the same company, a Freedom Corporation.
Which is a company the Master had established himself 30 years earlier and has brainwashed or hypnotized a bunch of people that have worked for that corporation over the years, to the point where that when he's finally kind of locked up in Stangmore Prison, everyone he has hypnotized goes there to try and free him, creating a huge chaotic scene.
Yeah.
As the Doctor hurtled down country roads at a frightening velocity, Lethbridge Stewart briefed Joe. "I had a feeling this might happen." There was a hint of smugness in his voice. "That's why I left troops on standby at the prison. You still want to give the Master the keys to his own guest room, Doctor?" Their driver concentrated on the road ahead and said nothing. The prison gates were hanging open. Bessie screeched to a halt in the courtyard beyond, and Joe stared. The area was swarming with civilians. Unit soldiers were attempting to contain them, but they were overwhelmed. "They're under some sort of mind control," cried Sergeant Benton. "We can't use our weapons without hurting them. I don't think we can keep them out of the main building for much longer." "Blast," said the Brigadier. And it takes only one person to reach the master's cell with a key, said the doctor tartly. The cunning old rogue. He must have planted suggestions in 100 minds before he was caught. He thought hard. We need to remove their objective. The doctor vaulted out of the car and forced his way into the confused throng. Jo followed him. She knew he was hoping to reach the master before anyone else did. Then she spotted something. Look! The doctor followed her line of sight and nodded grimly. One figure alone was fighting against the crowd, trying to reach the gates. Immediately, the doctor set off in pursuit. Private! Corporal! Anybody! Restrain that man! 2 soldiers had heard the doctor's shouts. They cut the man off and held on to him, despite his struggles, until the doctor arrived. Nice try, old chap. But I'll take this now, if you don't mind. In one smart motion, he yanked off the man's face and revealed an all too familiar bearded countenance beneath.
Because he's going kind of against the flow. Everyone's trying to get to the prison, and he's the only one going the other way. So they stop him.
And a blonde wig as well.
But it's a trap because he gets stuck in this construct. And it isn't until the Time Lords intervene and temporarily restore the Doctor's knowledge of time travel and the dematerialization circuit, he's able to escape the prison.
Yeah, so this is where we get controversial, though. Because the Doctor realizes that he has a choice. So that he can rescue Earth from the Master's this kind of weird, timey-wimey stuff, or he can just go off into the time vortex with his TARDIS and leave Earth to its fate in the assumption that the Time Lords will probably do something. Yeah. And he seems to seriously consider doing it. Yeah, I'm not sure that I can see the Third Doctor doing this.
Yeah, he's convinced by Jo to stay and Ur's reminded of his obligations on Earth. But yeah, I think of all the Doctors, the Third Doctor wouldn't need convincing to go back.
Yeah, you could imagine possibly the fourth, maybe, or some of his more alien moments. But I was just really just like, this isn't a Third Doctor I recognise. And also, it ends quite strangely as well, because the Doctor sort of the Doctor persuades the Master to give him this just power cell type thing. Knocks him out, and then kind of we see the Doctor rushing off to kind of go and save the world, but we don't find out exactly how he does it. And we see the Doctor musing about the fact that he's not, he, like the Master, is still a prisoner and doesn't have his freedom. But it was not in line with my interpretation of the Third Doctor. It was well written, but Steve Lyons knows his stuff. But
yeah, it wasn't one of my favorites, but it was. I liked some of he captured the era quite well. Apart from the one decision of the Third Doctor. But
because I've seen people online say about how he captures the Third Doctor perfectly, and I think ish until the final 2 pages.
Yeah.
So anyway, I heard a TARDIS calling.
Yes, and it's taking us to
Cambridge.
Yes. Cambridge shortly after the events of Shada.
Yes.
Featuring the Fourth Doctor and Romana. And this is Glass by Tara Sams, a.k.a. Stephen Cole.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting short story. It's a first person. I think it's the only story we get that's in first person. And it's told from the perspective of an unnamed woman who is seeing reflections of a ghastly face in different surfaces. And she sees this appearing in mirrors and windows everywhere.
In the newsagents, W.H. Smith's. I've seen many hideous things in W.H. Smith's, including New Adventures covers. Yeah, so she sees this kind of like child's face, but with adult eyes and an evil smile. Basically, it turns into a recluse. She's sort of in her bedroom with the kind of curtains drawn, and sort of like no one's believing her, and she's going mad, and she's being haunted by this face. And then the Doctor and Romana arrive, and the Doctor starts shoving jelly babies through the letterbox.
This must have gone on for a week. Then the 2 people came. One was a doctor or so he said when he called through the letterbox. Then he said something like, "It's about that face you've been seeing." And I suddenly felt light-headed with relief. Someone else had seen it. I wasn't crazy. I actually went out into the hall to let him in. Then I stopped. What if it was the face? What if the body had come looking for the face? I stood there for ages. Then the man called my name again, and his voice was deep and warm-sounding, and I knew he was okay. There was a girl's voice too. "You can trust us. In fact, you must trust us. We need your help." She sounded quite kind, but a bit hoity-toity as well, you know. Well, I couldn't decide what to do. When something plopped through the letterbox, I almost screamed. Then I saw it was a jelly baby, and I started laughing. I couldn't stop. I opened the door, and there he was. Tall man, brown curly hair with a huge grin on his face. Blonde girl next to him, grinning. Then they were both inside, going towards the lounge. "Don't go in there!" I shouted, and the tall man, the doctor, looked at me with big pale blue eyes. "He'll be there!" The doctor didn't stop looking at me, and I could tell things were serious. "I know about the face," he said. "You must tell me when you first saw it and how often you've seen it since."
The doctor is let into the house, and they discover that the greenhouse, every pane of glass has this face in it. There's a kind of a big old fight that we don't really quite understand because we're seeing it from her point of view. So what the creature is, though it is, we know that it's something that's escaped from Sharda.
I think we find out that it's one of the scientists that was absorbed by the sphere, who was trying to get back out of whatever dimension he was in. But and it ends up kind of sucking the doctor through one of the panes of glass, and I pictured kind of the doctor stepping through the window of the TV movie sort of thing, but with the fourth doctor, and he ends up fixing it so that creature's not going to try and break through ever again, but the woman is all shooken up, about the incident, and never forgets it. And this one I thought was kind of forgettable. I did like some of the dialogue between the fourth doctor and the second Romana was really well done, and kind of captured the era of like the late Douglas Adams.
Yeah, because they do feel quite alien. I mean, they are very much. She's the woman's not able to get a hold on their character. She finds them quite off-putting and strange. When I was reading it, I knew this was written in the 90s. I knew this was written before the modern show. But Elizabeth to me was kind of thinking it would be quite natural if this was the 10th Doctor and Rose that were about to appear rather than the Doctor and Romana. It feels like a story inspired by the modern era.
Yeah, I can see that.
I must say, I greatly enjoyed this. This is one of the highlights of the collection for me. But I think it was just because it just felt so fresh, sort of seeing it from the woman's perspective, and you do really see the mental difficulties going through when she loses her job. I mean, I think, does she lose her marriage? Well, certainly it's implied that her marriage is on very rocky ground at the end of it. And you're seeing the kind of like the consequences of being a peripheral figure in a Doctor Who story. I thought it was really interesting. I like stories in which you sometimes kind of see the Doctor as other people see him, like in Snake Dance. I mean, that's one of the examples that's often cited with that kind of thing. Yeah, I enjoyed this, but I can see why others might not.
I didn't not enjoy it. It wasn't super. The plot, I guess, wasn't super memorable to me. Just in that, apart from the faces and the reflections, which comes up in a lot of different types of stories. Yeah.
Right. Should we move on to Mondas Passing?
Yes.
This first of two stories written by Paul Grease, who doesn't seem to have done anything much else that I'm aware of. This is a Doctorless story featuring Polly Wright and Ben Jackson meeting up in a hotel room on December the 31st, 1986. So is just there to reminisce. They've been back on Earth now for kind of over 20 years. and they're married to other people. They're kind of just sort of reminiscing about what it was like fighting the Cybermen, or at least that seems to be what they're going to do, but they don't really spend much time talking about it, and it's just quite sad, really.
Yeah, I rather enjoyed this one. This was
Okay.
I liked the. It reminded me a little bit of the part in The Hungry Earth and Cold Blood, that two-parter where Amy and Rory go back, much older, and to watch themselves with the Doctor kind of off in the distance, and because you get the events of the 10th Planet and the upcoming Christmas special playing out, and they're realizing that, hey, we're down in Antarctica right now fighting Cybermen. It was kind of a cool moment, and yeah, it ends kind of sadly with Ben saying, hey, maybe we'll see each other in 2070. When, of course, they'll be long gone by then, but that's when the events of the moon base happens, which is their next kind of event that they experience in history from their perspective in terms of living up.
For the TV.
Yeah.
Yes, they've forgotten about Invasion of the Cat People.
Yeah. Although a couple of the Roundheads gets a reference, and Salations from the Murder Game get reference too. But just kind of an interesting, sad story, and kind of out of continuity too, because I think it's implied in The Five Companions, which is a audio with Polly, that her and Ben did end up getting together after all.
Yeah, which is what I want to happen. I didn't like the trend in kind of Doctor Who fiction in the 90s that bad things happened to the companions after they left, and it was all really grim. Can we just have a bit of hope? Ben just feels just like the world is totally against him. He's in a loveless marriage. He's really in love with Polly. Polly's in love with some rich chap, and it's just
kind of sad.
Yeah. Oh well.
Speaking of companions with unfortunate endings, our next story.
Yes. Yes, the poster child for it. I'm looking forward to reading Man in the Velvet Mask. That will be a laugh riot, won't it? It's the First Doctor and Dodo. There Are Fairies at the Bottom of the Garden, which is written by Sam Lester, who apparently never wrote anything ever again.
I'm thinking is another pseudonym.
Yes, because if I wrote this, I'd want to change my name as well. It's not good.
Yeah. You can get a master out of out of those letters, I think, too.
Yeah. Oh, it's Le Master, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is the Doctor and Dodo land on a planet that is kind of in an advanced state of decay, and you have Dodo kind of ready to throw up and is is going to be sick, and it just is a really bad planet all around, and the Doctor's trying to get her interested in her surroundings, and she's just lamenting that she's traveling with him, and why is she even a companion, which fans sometimes wonder.
I've wondered that about Dodo. Dodo has some good stories. I mean, this is the thing. So Dodo is good in the Western one, the name that escapes me.
Oh, the Gunfighters.
The Gunfighters. Yeah, I enjoy her in that. And she's also not terrible in the Ark.
Yeah.
I would say. But I just feel that she was hard done by on the show at the time. And this is not a really particularly great portrayal of her, but then again, her characterization is so inconsistent.
Yeah. And the kind of the twist of this story is that Dodo and the Doctor stumble upon a garden that's it's like a crystalline structure. It's very beautiful in contrasting with the rest of the surroundings. Dodo sees little tiny fairies made out of crystal flying around everywhere, and she's just delighted by it all. And then the kind of the big lumbering blob-like creature that they had been following kind of lets out a roar and splits open, and you have Dodo kind of exclaim in delight, because there's a little fairy inside. So she's thinking, oh, this must be like their cocoon form, and they're bursting forth, but it turns out it's more like what happens with like Alien and the xenomorphs, in that the crystal fairies are an infection on this planet. So I think it might have been the Doctor's way of trying to teach her that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so to speak, and that just because something looks beautiful doesn't mean that it is, and that it can be deadly. I don't know that I took much more away from it than that.
You made it sound better than what I was reading it. But, this was a slog for me. I don't know. When you've got two characters, well, obviously the Doctor is distant in this, and you've got Dodo just being miserable and having sort of nasty things happening to her, and just yeah.
Did Dodo and the Doctor ever travel alone together? Because maybe
in the books, yes, because you have the Man in the Velvet Mask.
Oh, between savages and okay.
Yeah. So this is set during that delightful period, because Stephen is not there, and I think it's implied that Stephen's gone fairly recently. But
yeah.
Dear, poor Dodo.
Can't catch a break.
No. You can see why Jackie Lane doesn't do any conventions. But,
yeah.
Right. Okay. Should we move on to Mother's Little Helper?
Yes, Mother's Little Helper, written by Matthew Jones.
Yes, who wrote The Impossible Planet.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Same guy.
Same guy. He also wrote a Doctor Who New Adventure, Bad Therapy, and also a Benny New Adventure. And he is, for my mind, one of the great undersung authors of the New Adventures of that period. Everything of his I've read, I've loved. Spoilers, including this. But your opinions may vary. So we're focusing on Nancy, who is an American girl living in England in the annoyingly named Southmouth or Southmouth. I'm not too sure how you pronounce it, because it probably Southmouth would probably be how it would be pronounced, because we tend to mumble our mouths in place names. She's kind of new to town. Her best friend slept with her boyfriend. It's all rather teen drama, and she bumps into this young lad who's kind of dressed in unusual clothing. He's kind of got golden eyes, and she has kind of like her emotional pain and physical pain starts fading away when he touches her. And then the boy's being chased by this tall blonde woman. Then she encounters the second Doctor. So, and I've seen stuff saying that this is definitely the season 6B second Doctor. I don't know whether that is the case or not.
There's a reference to his hair going gray, so maybe that's why and that he doesn't have companions. So
yes, yeah, he doesn't have companions, but it could also, because this does feel like we are in the middle of an adventure. And kind of Nancy stumbling upon.
So at this point, Nancy and the Doctor go look for the boy, and he's kind of seen near a derelict pier, which is kind of falling down. And Nancy goes home, and she changes her mind. She comes back, looks for the Doctor, and she finds him in the pier in one of the buildings, and they're having an argument, and the boy's nearby, and he has like this metallic band around his neck, which is like a control collar. The woman is the one who's controlling this collar, inflicting pain, and they get away, but Nancy gets knocked unconscious by the woman who sees her, and she wakes up, and she has a control collar on, and the woman's like hiding out like in her underwater submarine. And they decide to do a trade where the Doctor will swap the boy for Nancy, but then kind of turns on him and starts killing Nancy, after the swap happens, and she's trying to get the collar off, and she can't. The boy runs to her and takes away all of her pain, and then this part's kind of unclear to me in the narrative, but channels that energy into the woman, causing her to basically poof away into a cloud of ashes.
Yeah.
The Doctor and the boy go off, and Nancy goes home.
And she sees them a few days later at the far end of the beach, kind of and the Doctor suddenly kind of turns and waves and just wanders off. It's kind of like a fairy tale rendition in some ways of the Doctor. So kind of very Matt Smithy in some aspects. And I expected the woman was going to be the Rani.
Oh. I didn't have it. Yeah, I didn't pick up have that in my mind, but I could see that totally in terms of how she was described and portrayed. Yeah.
But I enjoyed how nebulous this was. That we don't really know what is going on, what the Doctor is up to with this boy, but it does just feel like kind of glimpses of an adventure.
Kind of like the Doctor and Martha in Blink when they're hunting the thing that's hatching, where we just see glimpses of a different adventure.
Yeah, yeah.
I really enjoyed this one. This was probably one of my favorites, I think, of the collection.
Yeah, yeah. It was it was lovely. I mean, Matthew Jones is such a good writer as well, because he kind of touches upon the emotional aspects of it, and does a really, really good job. He also wrote for Doctor Who magazine, wrote a series of columns that was kind of almost not quite a confessional, but he was always kind of putting in his own personal take on various stories and various aspects of just being a Doctor Who fan. And those were gorgeous reads. Matthew Jones, if what we've spoken about just now seems interesting, just go and sort of seek out any of his work. And dude wrote probably one of the best 10th Doctor stories.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. So next up we have a Fifth Doctor and Nyssa story called The Parliament of Rats by Daniel O'Mahony of Falls the Shadow fame.
Yes, and also The Man in the Velvet Mask. Yeah, a man who has a history of doing weird things to companions in his stories. We kind of start off sort of in the middle of things with TARDIS in the middle of a sea on this ocean planet. The Doctor is kind of like near drowning, and they're rescued this planet. There's kind of various different sort of time zones appearing, sort of like time periods, and it's all rather timey-wimey. And the ship, which is called the Lung of Heaven, has a navigator who is a time-sensitive type of person called Constantine, and they are hunting out the Parliament of Rats, which is this kind of legendary ship that sometimes appears in the time periods. It's an odd one.
This one has two different ships. One is the one that rescues the Doctor and Nyssa, and then the other one is a pirate ship. Or think of like a ghost ship from maybe Pirates of the Caribbean or something that's been lost in this time storm, or for 100 years, kind of wandering around. And the Doctor's getting headaches from all the different time fractures, and I think it's set. Nyssa makes reference to the fact that he's recently regenerated, but Nissa's also the only one in the story, so I would think it would happen during the gap between Archive and
Tegan's working for British Airways again. Either that or Adric and Tegan have kind of had a cold or something, sort of the reverse of what Nyssa experiences during Kinder.
The story kind of goes through a couple different twists and turns, but it's eventually revealed that the navigator of what is not the pirate ship, so the other ship, is a time sensitive. So she's not quite a Time Lord, but she's able to kind of navigate the different time zones, and the Doctor eyes her warily, and it turns out that she's a piece of Time Lord technology that I had to look this up, but it turns out it's the metal from Silver Nemesis.
Oh God!
It's shaped both into a staff, which the Doctor holds and is tells it to dissolve itself, and it does. But then it's just kind of a odd story.
I'm okay reading something that I don't quite understand if I'm enjoying the writing and everything. It just wasn't holding my attention. I mean, it's not the worst Fifth Doctor short story I've read. There's one in the first Decalogue that's I recall being an utter stinker. Yeah, this is just...
Yeah, this is not really clear what was going on, and there was some sort of... it was called a white hole, which was like a black hole, but it created things. It was just, as a power source, it was just kind of a lot going on and just not entirely clear. So
I mean, I suspect it was probably very clear in Daniel O'Mahony's mind, which is nice, because like sometimes when you're reading these stories, you go like, the author's got no idea what's happening here either. But I didn't get that vibe from this, but I just Oh well. Let's not pick any of his books anytime soon.
I was going to say, I hope you don't pick Man in the Velvet Mask.
Yes.
This combined with Dodo would be
Yeah.
Oh.
No. I wouldn't mind doing that for kind of like a July episode, because for Bastille Day, 14th of July, which is a kind of French version of kind of the 4th of July. We are not doing that next time. Right. We've got another story by Paul Grease. Writes, this doesn't involve former companions in a marital crisis, so yay! But it does feature the Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane. They're on the planet Parash.
Posing as Earth delegates because there's a ratification happening with this planet, and is it that they're wanting to join the Federation? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, there's a slight Peladon vibe, isn't there? On those early scenes, but it's just basically an excuse because we didn't have psychic paper in those days for them to not be arrested.
And these aliens are very different than humans. You get a lot of references to people being bipedal versus having multiple limbs and arms, and how confining it must be to have only 2 legs instead of... So I don't know if they were like centipede people or
yeah, well, because it's never clearly stated, and it also it's a few pages in that it says, oh, by the way, yeah, they've all got tons of legs, and it's like, oh, okay, that would be nice too, because I'm just imagining, standard BBC actors, possibly with a little bit different hair.
And I feel like there was like an abortion allegory happening with the babies being killed for their brain fluid, so kind of like a stem cell sort of thing going on.
I thought it was possibly... I could see why you'd say that. I was thinking more animal rights. Certainly, that was a major theme in 90s politics, and was often pop up in Doctor Who stuff around about that time. So that was how I could read that, but I can definitely see how you kind of read abortion into it.
Yeah, as an American, it's probably more of a
yeah, it's more the go-to. Yeah. So there's kind of various kind of like political factions at play on the planet, as they're all trying to kind of find ways to sort of save the population from kind of becoming sterile, and there's kind of riots and whatnot.
And there's like a 20-foot tall killer robot that shows up from one of the factions, and there's basically a big fight at the end, and the leader gets killed, and then the Doctor kind of suggests, hey, you should work together to solve your problems, and away he goes.
Yes, it's not at all clear how they're going to stop the killer radiation.
Yeah.
It's just like, don't do any more giant robots. Bye-bye. Lots of love. Yeah. I've enjoyed retelling this more than I did reading it.
Yeah. For me, it was kind of confusing. There wasn't a whole lot going on.
No, it wasn't.
Shall we...
Should we just draw a veil over that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Next up. Wish You Were Here.
Yes, the Sixth Doctor.
Yes, by Guy Clapperton, which is a name I recognise, but I don't know why. Oh, he did another Decalogue book, and so he's also done writing. He did some writing for the Radio Times to do with the modern series. He is still around. So we've got the Sixth Doctor travelling around on his own, and he visits this tourist planet called Nestra, and he's searching down an old friend of his, Cricklin, and because how the Sixth Doctor in particular seemed to have a whole host of old friends he's never mentioned before or since. And usually when he decides to check out his mates, they end up dead. So it's a bit like Jessica Fletcher. He's like, no, please don't be your friend. So there are tourists kind of going missing, and he encounters this woman who's pretending to be a tourist, but she's really an agent of the people running the planet, and her name is Janice Karma.
Starting at the bottom, the shoes were normal enough, she supposed, although the red spats were rather unusual. Yellow trousers with black stripes she could take too, but with that waistcoat? Of course, there was nothing intrinsically wrong with a checked red waistcoat, but not with that pale blue cravat with the white spots. As for the coat, well, one lapel was pink, the other yellow, the collar checked, and the rest predominantly red, with cuffs to match the trousers. The whole ensemble was truly shocking. The stranger responsible for thrusting this appalling vision upon her was smiling at a rose, of all things. He looked at the rose encouragingly, sniffed it a little, and nodded at it. Janice could stand the performance no longer. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Communicating with a rose," he said, as if this should be obvious. Janice had started backing towards the door almost before she was aware she wanted to be anywhere but here. This was getting to be a bore. He was definitely following her. His strides were long enough to keep up with her without any apparent effort, and from the look on his face, he seemed to be finding the exercise positively stimulating. "Ah, the rose," he declared conversationally. "Quite remarkable. Of course, human appreciation of it is so limited. To an insect, it appears entirely different, a riot of colour and excitement. I myself can identify 170 different levels of the spectrum. Insects are attracted to the rose because of its dazzling appearance, and so pollination takes place. Mankind cultivates the rose for aesthetic purposes, creates new strains. The rose survives and thrives simply through its ability to give pleasure to others." He smiled a broad, thin smile. "It's a bit like you Thetrans here on Nestra. Look, Doctor. Look, Doctor. I'm sure you're a very nice person and all that. Thank you. But if you don't mind, this is where I leave you. I'm here for a quiet holiday, nothing else, so if you'll excuse me." The strange man looked only marginally disappointed. "Of course," he said, gesticulating around the narrow marble stairway they had now reached. "Make the place your own. Have a nice day. Do what tourists usually do." Her relief was almost palpable. She turned and started to make her way out. "It's just that I'd have sworn you were here as a Thetran agent, armed to the teeth, and trying not to look as though you had a tracer implanted under the index finger of your right hand." Janice stopped dead. She would have sworn that the blood literally stopped flowing around her body for a moment. "Just a hunch." She turned to face the doctor very, very slowly, only to be greeted by the ample acreage of his disappearing back. "I'll be in the coffee lounge if anyone wants me," he added, turning round with what was no doubt intended as a winning smile.
They also encountered a robot called Laxus, possibly.
I wasn't sure how you pronounce that. Laxus, I think?
Yeah, Laxus. And Laxus has been programmed to give the tourists whatever they like and refuse them whatever they don't like.
Nothing could go wrong there.
No. What could possibly go wrong? Janice gets captured by Laxus, and then the doctor he wanders off, bumps into another old friend, and discovers that this second friend, a person called Kataf, who may be a Klingon, is actually an artificial life form that Laxus is using to trap the doctor. I was like, what? And Laxus doesn't realise the consequences of his actions because his artificial intelligence has been programmed without like a compassion chip or something. And Laxus basically, he's looking after a whole host of ill people. They're sick from overindulgence, and Laxus has refused to give them medication because that's something they don't like. And that's going against his programming. Basically, the Doctor and Janice manage to escape, and Janice blows up Laxus, even though Laxus has now realised what he was doing wrong. And just as the Doctor is kind of getting ready to leave Nestra, not really having done anything about his mate Coraclim, who was kind of like a big important part of the story earlier, unless Coraclim dies or just gets forgotten about for narrative purposes. We encountered Janice again and her new robot, Laxus II, who's been kind of put together from components from the first. And so the doctor leaves, and Laxus II decides to start doing some dental work on Janice, and then in the kind of like the closing goes, yes, you're the one that killed my brother. And the implication is he probably goes on to kill Janice.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's an odd one. It felt like it felt more like a comic strip in some respect.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed that this was the only entry for the Sixth Doctor in the collection, because you would think that with 16 stories that it would work out to be 2 each, but the Fifth and Sixth Doctor only get 1 story each, and then the Fourth Doctor gets 3 stories, so yeah.
Yes, and Ben and Polly's marital issues gets 1 all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a bit of a missed opportunity. I mean, I quite like the twist that Janice gets killed by the robot, but yeah,
kind of a hoisted on your own petard sort of ending.
Yeah, but it just felt it just needed another bit of editing, maybe.
Yeah. Shall we go on to the next one?
It's Ace of Hearts.
Yes, with the Seventh Doctor and Ace, sort of, or Dorothy.
Yes, and Mike Tucker and Robert Perry again.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was a kind of a fun little short story. So the Doctor takes a job as an entertainer playing the spoons and maybe involving something with ferrets, who knows, at a annual reunion dinner hosted by Dorothy McShane's family. And after the reunion, he stays over at their house for the night, and he sneaks into Dorothy's room.
As you do.
And he basically has a conversation with Ace, talking about how
all the bad stuff he's going to do in the future to her.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. And he says he's going to have to manipulate her yet again. So I don't know what that's in reference to, but I'm sure it's any number of times that the Doctor puts Ace into certain situations.
Yeah.
Before he leaves, he takes a baby photograph of Ace and replaces it with a playing card, the Ace of Hearts, for which the story's named. So when the grandmother comes in...
Yes, from Curse of Fenric.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know how she would realize it was the Doctor from the playing card. Was that...
No, it's also because she hears the TARDIS noise.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And she suddenly kind of goes, oh yes, that madman playing the spoons in a Scottish accent. I know that, man. Funny
she wouldn't place him from meeting him and earlier in the evening, but just from the TARDIS noise. But
well, maybe you might just kind of go, have I met you? Oh, I don't know, I'm busy doing a party. Yeah, maybe.
I really liked this one, even though it was kind of on the shorter side. It was it didn't really have much of a point. The Doctor kind of
was creepy.
I wish it would have gone somewhere or done, but it was a nice short little scene, I guess, for what it was.
Yeah, it was a short little scene. It was just very stalkery.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know whether you would necessarily have sort of say, yeah. I mean, I guess in the modern series, we've recently had the 12th Doctor kind of popping in and it's hanging out with Bill's mum, but it doesn't feel quite as weird as this. I didn't especially kind of care for it. I'm not too sure I'm enjoying Mike Tucker and Robert Perry's writing style, so certainly. But who knows? Maybe I might pick kind of Illegal Alien at some point, just for the benefit of my tube traveller. Right. Okay. Shall we move on?
So next up we have The People's Temple, which is by Paul Leonard, who I've read a Venusian Lullaby by him. I don't know that I've read any other of his work. Maybe I have.
Yeah, I've read Genocide from the 8th Doctor novels.
I think I might have read a Third Doctor and Joe story he did.
Yeah.
Like took place in the desert or something, or had like a scorpion.
Yes, Dancing the Code.
Oh, yeah, I've read that one too.
Yeah, he's an interesting character because he's, I think he described himself as being not necessarily a fan, but was quite keen on the work. But he would also let people, he would kind of critique other people's work for money if you could have sent them to him and stuff. And so he could have. I've always found his stuff kind of quite well written, if sometimes sort of a little bit unusual. Certainly genocide.
Yeah.
But so the People's Temple.
Yeah.
And it's Stonehenge.
With the Eighth Doctor and Sam, who we haven't really covered Sam before on this podcast, but
No.
she was the first traveler with the Doctor in the novels, the Eighth Doctor. And she's I've heard her described as kind of a Lisa Simpson character with a Greenpeace t-shirt.
I think that's being very flattering. I mean, I think she's just designed by committee. She's bland, I found. I mean, at least Lisa Simpson suggests a bit of kind of get-go. Yeah. Anyway, so
the plot of the People's Temple, think An Unearthly Child episodes 2 through 4. Because you get boys who are part of a tribe who are making a temple out of pebbles, and it cuts to several years later. They're grown up and they have the idea to create Stonehenge, a life-size stone version of the temple that they wanted to build as kids. There's another tribe that they've conquered, who they're using as slave labor to build this, and keep trying to make a particular schedule. I'm not sure what's driving why they need to.
Good project management. That's what's happening here.
One of the girls who's working on Stonehenge, one of the slave girls, she gets killed by a stone falling on her.
Yeah, it's quite a harrowing scene as well, because when we say girl, we really mean girl as well, because like, the impression that I got was like she was like 8 or 9, that kind of like really quite young. Yeah, so things get quite nasty and awkward. So just in time for the Doctor and Sam to arrive, because like Sam really wants to kind of see Stonehenge in use, and the Doctor was sort of suggesting this might not be a terribly good idea, and of course they split up because it's a Doctor Who story.
The Doctor was propped up in his favourite armchair, feet on a stool, reading. A red mug of cocoa was on the arm of his chair, and Sam was cradling another one in her hands. In her lap was a book, a glossy, old-fashioned, rather heavy, hard-back book. "I want to see Stonehenge." "What century?" Sam grinned. She liked the way that the Doctor was never, ever taken aback, and usually managed to go one further. "When it was built. It says in this book that no one will ever be sure how they moved the stones." The Doctor glanced up. "Magic." Sam was surprised, but did her best not to show it. "Did it work?" she asked, as casually as she could manage. "No, they had to use ropes in the end." The Doctor grinned at his little joke, then went back to his book. Sam was disappointed, more disappointed than she had expected. She hadn't really believed that there was any magic in an old stone circle, but there's no magic then? No, she glanced down at her book, meeting of ley lines, no natural temple of the people? The Doctor glanced up sharply. "I didn't say that. But magic isn't usually very useful. Any magic sufficiently advanced becomes indistinguishable from technology, and no fun anymore." "Shouldn't that be any technology sufficiently advanced?" "Yes," said the Doctor. "That's another way of putting it."
The two kids, who are now grown-ups, one decides to sacrifice the other because of the incident that happened, and kind of wants to deflect the blame.
Yeah, and you also get another actual kid who Sam has taken, this lad called
that's
Dora.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, who Sam has this ingenious idea to use kind of like spray paint to try to kind of scare people by kind of spraying things into people's eyes. And so Dorland's doing that, but he's disappointed when he discovers it doesn't actually kill people. So he goes, "Oh, I'll just stab them as well." So that's nice. And there's a kind of like a big old fight that kind of goes on, between kind of Dorland's people and the sort of the bear men, who are the ones led by those two lads from earlier on. Yeah, and basically they all kind of stop fighting. And,
yeah, and Sam has to, because she helps start kind of the uprising, she has to help take care and prepare the people who were killed.
Yeah.
Kind of work in the morgue, so to speak, of the time. And yeah, they just kind of take off then, and
yeah, just leave you to it.
Doctor says, "Hey, do you want to go back to Stonehenge?" He didn't really get to. We arrived a little too early. He didn't get to see it, and she's kind of like not quite in the mood for that anymore.
Yeah. No. I always found when I read about the Eighth Doctor and Sam, I have this kind of feeling of this odd feeling, almost like grief, because that's how I feel when I was reading the novels featuring them. At that time, it just felt so raw that the TV movie didn't happen. And even though this is the first time that I've read this particular short story, I kind of got that feeling again. You know, the kind of like emotions of, oh God, I wish this was on TV and that I wasn't having to read it. And yeah, it's strange that regardless of who's writing it, that seems to be how my emotional reaction to the crew. But I enjoyed it. It was all right. It's nice that Stonehenge wasn't being built by aliens. And there was no mention about any Pandoricas, but hey.
I thought it was well written. I thought it went on a little bit too long, and I thought it took a little bit too long for the Doctor and Sam to show up. But apart from that, it was okay. And that was the final story in the book, but the audio version included an audio exclusive short story by David A. McEntee, who we will remember from Face of the Enemy just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
This one's called Degrees of Truth, and it features the Third Doctor and the Brigadier, and is set
not after the demons.
After the demons, and it's so one of the characters who died in that story, Private Carver. He was if you remember Bach, the gargoyle, the soldier that he kind of points at, and the soldier disappears in a puff. One of those soldiers was Private Carver, and this audio story really is just kind of an examination of what happens after a red shirt, so to speak, in unit dies, and the Brigadier has to write the death notification letter. In this case, it went to Major Carver, who is was in the army at one point, and the Major decides to pay the Brigadier a visit to find out what really happened with his son, because of course this is all under a D notice and they can't talk about it or anything.
Yeah, because the letter just is very, very vague as to what happened, and Major Carver wonders why they don't even have a coffin to bury his son in. And Major Carver rocks up and is kind of confronting the Brigadier, and it turns out he's got loads of grenades on him and various other explosives, because the Brigadier decided, we'll bypass security for you. I mean, at least they address it in the narrative. The Brigadier's like, oh, that was a bad idea. It's like, you should still just double check. Make sure you don't have like a lunatic coming on.
The Doctor's there as well, and is kind of trying to, between him and the Brigadier, figure out how can we talk this guy down from detonating this suicide bomb vest that he's wearing. In the middle of unit headquarters. So they figure out, okay, what's enough detail that we can reveal that will make sense without, having to say that there were Time Lords and satanic demons involved and cults and all this stuff.
The Doctor allowed a weak smile to play on his lips and tried to give Carver a reassuring look. Major Carver, your son died on active duty in a classified operation. Lethbridge Stewart stared at Carver's face, seeking some sign of understanding. Circumstances did not permit recovery of a body, the Brigadier said. Carver closed his eyes, and the Brigadier could see that something seemed to give within the man. When he opened his eyes again, they were more tired than anything else. He sank into a seat and folded his coat around him as if suddenly cold. "Do you have children, Brigadier?" Lethbridge Stewart nodded, momentarily surprised by the question. "A daughter, Kate." He realized almost immediately where Carver was heading with this information. Then, as a father, you must know that you have to answer me. The man smiled faintly. Drop your bombshell. Lethbridge Stewart carefully masked his feelings. Had the situation been reversed, he would surely be just as desperate to find out the truth. But again the doubts hammered at him. What could he tell this man? An outright lie? Or the truth that, if made public knowledge from a respected military man such as Carver, could have disastrous consequences for national security? And was there a truth that Carver would actually accept without blowing them all sky high? Do you know what UNIT actually does, Major? The doctor asked suddenly. The Brigadier looked round at him, surprised. The Time Lord wore an expression the Brigadier knew all too well. He had found a course to follow.
So they come up with, because the Master was in the news as Victor Magister, and that, he had been captured, and they're able to tell part of the story, a degree of truth, if you will, to alleviate the father's concerns and give him enough detail so that he stands down. And then the doctor, rushes to disarm the vest, and turns out it was a fake. There weren't any real live grenades there anyway. So the Brigadier doesn't turn the guy into the military police or anything. So he kind of goes on his way with the knowledge that his son died for a good cause.
And the story concludes with a depiction of what Major Carver believes happened to Private Carver, to his son, and sort of like him kind of confronting the Magister and sort of being killed heroically in the line of duty. Which I thought that was quite poignant, sort of seeing the alternative facts, as it were, of what happened.
I have to say, I really liked this one. It was a good one to end on, I thought, and it was just wonderful to hear Nicholas Courtney read it. To get one more performance as the Brig from him was really cool.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I think this probably might even actually be my favourite story in the entire collection. I just really found it quite powerful, and it's a shame that it's kind of it's audio only, because this was more deserving of a place in the book than at least a couple of stories I can think of.
Yeah. All right, so that's Short Trips. So what did we think? Why don't you go ahead and...
I was whilst I was reading it, I was harking back in my mind, because like Decalogue would sometimes do some very experimental stuff. Like there's one Decalogue short story that is told in kind of iambic pentameter, and is basically kind of like a Shakespearean sequel to Androids of Tara. And there's nothing quite as outlandish as that, but I think the high points for me kind of outshone the less successful ones. It was quite nice just kind of having various different little flavours, and just some of them were very good, like sort of Mother's Little Helper, and Mother's Little Helper and Glass, and Old Flames and Degrees of Truth just really struck me well.
I think my favourites were Model Train Set, which may have been my favorite. I really liked Old Flames. Kind of the introduction of Iris was really good. I rather enjoyed the kind of the melancholy of Monda's passing, even though it was kind of sad. I thought it was still a little sweet. And then really liked Degrees of Truth. I think my least favorite were probably Wish You Were Here, The People's Temple, and probably the Fairies one.
Yeah.
Overall, if I had to rate the collection as a whole,
it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
There were about half the stories I liked and half the ones I didn't.
Yeah, I think I might say a 6. I do think that's been quite generous, but as I say, Degrees of Truth was brilliant, and Old Flames, I finally saw what it is that people see in Iris. So I was very glad I kind of read it, just even if it's just for that, because I've always had that as kind of like a mental blind spot. Yeah.
So what did you think about doing an anthology for the podcast? I thought it was
I enjoyed it.
Not something I'd want to do every month necessarily.
No.
But but every once in a while, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it would be very interesting to sort of see what people kind of make of it, and sort of whether they want us to forget about this as an experiment ever again. Yeah, as ever, we kind of welcome your thoughts, your feedback, your suggestions.
Speaking of, we have some listener feedback to share.
Okay. Is it anybody in a lime green shirt using the Jubilee line on Tuesday?
Potentially. So we got an email from Brian, and I apologize, Brian, because this ended up in our spam folder for some reason and didn't catch it as quickly as I might have otherwise. But he wanted to drop us a line and let us know how much he's enjoying the new version of one of his favorite podcasts, which he says is quite cathartic because he's never fully recovered from rudely pushing the old host Sean out of the way for a copy of his favorite new adventure, Warhead, by Andrew Cartmel at a Gallifrey 1 convention 5 years ago. So, Sean, if you're listening, Brian wrote in. He's the one who pushed you out of the way so you could get to Warhead by Andrew Cartmel before you could. And he said he does not like to refer to it as Cat's Cradle Warhead because Andrew Cartmel doesn't like that designation either. So
yeah, Cat's Cradle isn't necessarily a good collection of books to be associated with.
He goes on to say, like both of us, he was a Wilderness Years Doctor Who fan, ran headlong into the books when his teenage imagination didn't find stories with the scope he saw in his first story, which was the TV movie, so we have that in common, him and I. And then he says he now considers the new adventure Cream Suit 7th Doctor as his Doctor, which, Chris, I think you mentioned that as well, that you think of the Doctor from the books as in that vein. He says it's great to hear a thoughtful look at these childhood gems with two enthusiastic hosts who have a similar Doctor Who history. Brian also talks about some of the Doctor Who connections he has, which include helping restore the 8th Doctor TV movie console, which is displayed at Gallifrey 1 these days.
Yes.
And then he also introduced his friend Athena to George Mann, and Athena became the character model for Cinder for the Doctor Who Legacy video game. Okay. And Brian built the Dalek prop gun and battery pack that his friend Athena uses when she cosplays as Cinder. So that's cool.
Okay, that is very cool.
Thank you, Brian.
I think I've heard interviews with Brian or certainly I've heard interviews with people that restored the console on Radio Free Skaro, I want to say. Cool.
Very cool. Yeah, he sent in some pictures from as well of kind of the detail of the prop gun and stuff, which is really cool to see. We also have a couple of tweets to share. We have a tweet from our former host of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast, Eric Stadnick, who's now the co-host of Doctor Who The Writers' Room. He writes, "Our final Doom selection. Finally, it will be discussed," in reference to St. Anthony's Fire. So we hope we did that book justice.
As much justice as the book allowed us.
Yeah. And we also got a tweet from Graham Burke, host of Reality Bomb, and contributor to the recently released Sidney Newman memoir, Head of Drama, by ECW Press. And Graham says, I've been wondering if we're going to finally get chameleonic fluctuation as part of the TV canon at Christmas. So, in reference to the TARDIS changing the shape of its exterior shell and losing the St. John's ambulance logo in the stacked roof. So
I think we might.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance.
Yeah.
Mark Gatiss is in the cast. You've got two TARDISes standing side by side that look quite different. Yeah.
Be great if we did.
I think it might just be a passing allusion to it, but yeah.
And Graham also wrote that he adores that Mark Gatiss came up with a brilliantly sober and rational explanation for the Seventh Doctor's first words, which I went back to Time in the Rani to suss out what those were, but I might be missing the connection, so perhaps one of our listeners can write in and explain it more fully. But the Doctor kind of rattles off three different things, including I think he said a fluctuation in Sector 13, which I'm not sure what the tie-in there is to St. Anthony's Fire, but I'm sure there is one. So yeah, some great feedback from our listeners. So thank you everyone for writing in. And as a reminder, you can reach us at andwbcpodcast@gmail.com if you want to send in an email. You can also follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. And please leave us a review on iTunes.
Yes, because it helps the algorithm, and the algorithm is all important.
It is.
Yes.
So next month, Chris, is your pick.
Yes.
What are we going to be reading?
So we are going to be reading a BBC book, which is the first novel featuring this particular TARDIS crew, and it's also a book by one of the kind of more well-known New Adventures novelists who didn't appear in this Short Trips compilation. We are going to be doing Eye of Heaven by Jim Mortimer. So the Fourth Doctor and Leela, and according to TARDIS Wiki, the enemy are Peruvians. So apologies if you are from the great country of Peru.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, all of Peru will be attacking the Fourth Doctor and Leela.
That's great. I read. I remember reading Blood Heat by Jim Mortimer and remember rather enjoying it. I don't know that I've read anything else by him, but looking forward to it. Even though I have to say, the Fourth Doctor and Leela is my least favorite pairing of the Fourth Doctor era.
Okay.
If I had to rank them, I'd say both Romanas 1 and 2 are tied, and then maybe Sharon from the comics, and then Sarah Jane, and then K9, and then Nyssa Tegan and Adric, and then Leela.
Really?
Yeah, which is weird because I'm a huge Xena Warrior Princess fan, but yeah, I can't stand that character for some reason. So,
well, this might be a long month. Yeah.
But I do really like the Fourth Doctor, so maybe that'll balance out.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see quite how they kind of just try and think of the best way to put it, but sort of, to what extent they touch upon kind of Leela's character and how that is covered in a novel. Because I think it's the sort of thing that's possibly easier to depict on TV than it is possibly in the book, because if you see too much from her viewpoint, then it might just kind of get a bit, kill, how can I eat this in a weird way? But I'm very fond of kind of Leela myself, so she was in the possibly the third Doctor Who story I ever saw, which was The Invisible Enemy, which freaked the life out of me as a kid.
I have not seen The Invisible Enemy.
Yeah.
It is one of 8 Doctor Who classic stories that I have not yet seen.
Oh, okay.
Or it might be 6, but it's
right.
The stuff that came out at the end of the VHS range, so a few of those I haven't watched. But
yeah, it's probably not worth you necessarily going way out of your way to watch it. Yeah. I did watch it kind of 3 or 4 years ago and went, oh, okay, this scared me. All right. Not very good. Yeah, so we'll be doing that, and so it's kind of depict. I understand that it's in kind of a few real life locations, including Judgment Undercover, Easter Island. It should be good. And so Jim Mortimer, even bad Jim Mortimer, is interesting from my experience. So
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be our first Fourth Doctor book that we've read, I think. So
yes, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it should be good. Cool.
Well, until next month, I've been Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London. Happy reading.
Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. Special thanks to George C. Music for use of their song, Doctor Who Theme, Swing Jazz Version. You can follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast and like us on Facebook. You can support the show by leaving us a rating and review on iTunes. You can contact the show by emailing your thoughts to andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. And until next month, happy reading.
It's night time now, and the summer, the nights are drawing in. In June and July, the sun sets after 10 o'clock, and I don't know when the sun sets in the summer and kind of in Minneapolis, but so it's always slightly depressing when you're getting into August, September, and you're going like, oh yeah.
Same here. Usually it'll stay light out until about 9:30 p.m. or so. So yeah, not quite as far north as.
Few well, I don't think anywhere is in America, is it? Apart from Alaska.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I think you're right.
But it also tells me that there is such thing as a category of Doctor Who stories set in Croydon.
Wasn't it also where Sarah Jane was from?
Yes, it is. So from a fictitious street in Croydon. Though there are sometimes if I go past some nice streets, I go think that was probably where Sarah Jane lived. Right. Anyway, that's enough of geography. Right.